What's going on, everybody? C4 here today, continuing with the 7-round mock draft series, the best mock drafts on YouTube, in my biased opinion. Today, we are taking a look at the LA Chargers, no longer the San Diego Chargers, but the LA Chargers, but hopefully, new city, same success during the draft, as we will touch briefly on their 2016 draft, which was home run, absolute home run of a draft before we drop in to the full 7-round mock draft for the 2017 season. So as you know, I am an Eagles fan, but I am trying to do all 32 teams. So if you're a diehard of the Chargers and you may have a difference of opinion, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, but where you may look differently for players that I have actually come and said I'm looking forward to, opening up and understanding and listening to other people's opinions. So today, for the LA Chargers, last season they were 5-11. They had the 14th ranked offense, 16th ranked defense. Their MVP, in my opinion, was Casey Hayward, who had just shy of 60 total tackles, 7 interceptions, and he was able to bring one of those back from to the house for a full touchdown. So big acquisition, being able to steal him away from the Green Bay Packers, and he did not look out of place in the Chargers last year. Their needs before free agency, I had offensive tackle, safety, offensive guard, outside linebacker, and nose tackle / defensive tackle, since they run multiple fronts. In free agency, the moves they made, they tagged Melvin Ingram, which is a $14 million cap. I'll give it a C+. Ideally, this grade here could grow if they work out a long-term deal, but Ingram is a very solid outside linebacker and a big-time contributor to that Chargers defense. They released DJ Fluker, which freed $8.8 million, giving that a B+. He was a cap cow that didn't quite live up to his contract. They released Stevie Johnson, which freed up $3.5 million. With the emergence of Terrell Williams, you all right. You don't need Stevie Johnson. They reached Brandon Flowers, which freed up $7 million free agent in cap room. B, they re-signed Jaleel Adai, 4-year, $22 million. He graded out fairly well in Pro Football Focus for starting safeties last year. So we'll give that a B, fringe C+. I don't really think that looks like the kind of money you pay to a guy that might be able to develop a little bit, but I think he is at his ceiling. They signed Russell Okung, 4 years, $53 million. Giving that a C. They overpaid for a guy that was very pedestrian last year with the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, he was brought in to kind of be a mercenary, if you will, to help them continue to, just buy their way in free agency to get into the playoffs and compete for Super Bowls. And Okung was very, very, I wouldn't say he was poor, but he was very, very average in terms of his contract. So they opted not to pick up his option. Chargers did. Don't really see that being much more of an upgrade, but they did release King Dunlap, which freed up almost $5 million, which I give that a B+, because King Dunlap is the worst player I've ever seen wear a Philadelphia Eagle jersey. So I guess Okung upgrade over Dunlap. You got to look at it from that standpoint. It's a solid piece of business. And they also did some running backs where they re-signed Brandon Oliver, and they signed Kenyon Barner for my Philadelphia Eagles. So you guys are getting a dynamic playmaker, more so probably be a kick returner for the Chargers next season. So all in all, not a terrible offseason for the Chargers. I just think, the money they paid Okung it's not a great contract for Okung, but it's always a tough market when you're talking about offensive tackles. So jumping in their 2016 draft to get a feel for how the front office likes to do business, had a phenomenal draft last year when all was said and done. In the first round, they got Joey Bosa, Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, there was the contract disputes in the offseason, which made the Chargers front office look absolutely horrendous, which they kind of are. I imagine there's many San Diego fans that are pretty upset about the entire front office there, kind of leaving them high and dry over all the stadium bullshit, but that is the nature of the game. But they did draft incredibly well, and eventually, once they got Joey Bosa signed, he was phenomenal, one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. And in the second round, they got Hunter Henry, who was projected to be kind of sit behind and, get some snaps in here and there, but essentially grow and be able to eventually take over for Antonio Gates. But when Gates got down hurt, Hunter Henry was phenomenal, man. I would say you probably have to say he was the top rookie tight end last season, or at least, in that conversation. He was a great pickup, was regarded as the top tight end in last year's draft class, and boy, did he ever play like that. The third and fourth round, they got Max Turk, the center from USC, and Josh Perry, outside linebacker from Ohio State. Both those guys were, sound a little bit better, and I thought they were a little bit better on paper than they actually played last year, but depth players that weren't too bad. In the fifth round, for their compensation pick, they got Jatavis Brown, outside linebacker from Akron, who I had mocked to the Philadelphia Eagles in one of my mock drafts, and he was an excellent playmaker for them when he was playing. I mean, there's multiple weeks he was getting like double-digit tackles. I remember in my IDP fantasy league, I even picked him up as a bye-week replacement, and he was very solid for me. In the sixth round, they both got two guys debatably that were top of their position. They got Drew Kaiser, the punter from Texas A&M, and Derek Watt, the fullback from Wisconsin. Both those guys were regarded, again, Kaiser was, in my opinion, I think I have him as my number one punter for, all those people that grade and rank punters. And Derek Watt was regarded as the top fullback in last year's draft class. And then the seventh round, they got Donovan Clark, the guard from Michigan State, who, is pretty much a camp body depth chart guy. But actually, as it stands right now, he is their starting right guard on our lads in terms of the Los Angeles Chargers depth chart. So let's see if we can change that up or add some competition with our 7-round mock draft for the San Diego Chargers. Let's jump right into that right now. So in the first round at pick number 7, we are starting things off with a guys, I wouldn't say consensus, but very commonly mocked to the San Diego Chargers, and by San Diego I mean the Los Angeles Chargers, and that is Malik Hooker, the safety from Ohio State. There is some concern because he was unable to do a lot of workouts because he is coming off an injury, but he is, the second coming of Ed Reed if you buy into all that hype. But he is a phenomenal instinctual ball skill safety that if he picks off the ball, he has any chance to take it to the house. 6'1", 206 pounds. Not the biggest hitter, so you're not looking for a guy that can come down the box and lay a hit on a running back. You're looking for more so a guy that can play center field, and that is what you get with Malik Hooker. As a free safety, I think more so he could take over for a guy like maybe Dwight Lowery on the Chargers, who's not the hottest guy that you got going there. I think he was like more so forever a depth guy. Had a little bit of meaningful stop for the Colts, I believe. But outside of that, I think at the free safety spot, Hooker, if he is healthy and won't miss too much of OTAs, won't miss too much of training camp, should probably be a lock to start in there at free safety alongside Jaleel Adai for the starting spot there. So at number 2, really improving the defense and getting a safety back there that's legit since they lost that in Eric Weddle. So jumping to the second round, pick 38, I have them going after maybe the most underrated tackle in this year's draft class, and that's Antonio Garcia from Troy, 6'6", 302 pounds. Played a little bit of left tackle, more so. I think he will play right tackle in the NFL, at least starting out as a slender frame he has on him, which is what they need. I think right away Antonio Garcia, 5'1", 540, put up 24 reps on the bench press. NFL.com compares him to Jared Veld here, who is a very solid left tackle for the Raiders and now with the Arizona Cardinals. But I still think a guy like him, the fact that he's consistently playing below or around the 300, that's he could get a little bit beat by the power rushers in the next level. So I think he will start as a right tackle, and then he will move, hopefully eventually once he gets on a proper training program, to a left tackle spot because he has that upside. He has the frame to potentially do it. Not the longest guy, but he certainly has the talent. And I think right away, more so looking at the Chargers where I have him going, he could be right hot on Joe Barksdale's tail for the starting right tackle spot. Even for an top depth role, Okun might not be a long-term option, but the depth at the tackle spots is fairly weak. Chris Hairston and Tyreek Burwell, yeah, that ain't nothing I would fuck with, to be completely honest with you. So a guy like Antonio Garcia in the second round, protecting and keeping Phillip Rivers. I mean, in my first mock draft, I had them taking Cam Robinson because I still think you have to protect Phillip Rivers in this offense. And we've seen the last couple of years, the most injury-prone team in the NFL is San Diego Chargers. When they have a weak offensive line, as is the case for any team that has a weak offensive line, but more so this one, if you keep Phillip Rivers up on his feet, it doesn't matter who else is around him. He can make plays. He's a great quarterback and can make, chicken shit from chicken salad. Obviously, turn chicken sit into chicken salad. That old fucking whatever. I butchered that saying. But that's what he can do. You saw what he did. Tyrell Williams. Guys like Travis Benjamin, who's kind of one-year wonder. You give him just players like this, if you give him enough time to stay in the pocket, he will find them, and he will make plays. How do you do that? You go by beefing up the offensive line. I don't know if a guy like Joe Barksdale is really good enough. I think a person like Antonio Garcia could come in and right tackle and compete from the preseason and potentially take over that starting job by the time the regular season is here. Now, jumping to the third round, pick 71. I have them going with a guy that I think he might still be here in the third round. More so how my mock when I did it, he was still available, and he would be, I've talked and ranted and raved about him all offseason. In the third round, 71, Chidobe Awuzie, defensive back from Colorado. It depends what kind of scheme you see him fitting in. 6 feet tall, 202 pounds, 4.43 40, ran a better 40 than a lot of people expected. 16 reps on the bench press. He's listed as a corner, and he could be coming in as competing for a depth corner spot behind Jason Verrett and Casey Hayward. After they did let Brandon Flowers go, they could be looking for another corner that can potentially play there. But I really classify him as a defensive back because I could see him succeeding in the NFL as a safety. And, if he is more so a safety here at this fit, doesn't make a whole lot of sense considering they got a safety with Malik Hooker at the 7th pick. But I see him as a corner in this scheme, a long-rangey corner that can play, his pro comparison is Prince Mukamara. He's a man cover guy because, Hayward and Verrett both aren't your typical outside corners. Both those guys are sub 6 feet tall, so I think a guy like Awuzie would add a nice dynamic that's not currently there for the Chargers secondary, which has not been also great. I mean, you had the interceptions last year, but they weren't regarded as a spectacular defense. Only 16th ranked in the NFL, and they could continue to improve upon that because they have a phenomenal linebacking core, if I'm completely honest with you. And now with the emergence of Joey Bosa, and they have Corey Liuget on the defensive line. Just catch the defensive back, catch the secondary up to speed, and a guy like Chidobe Awuzie is an ultimate playmaker back there, defensive back, can do it all. He's the Swiss Army knife, if you will, back there in the secondary. So that's a phenomenal pick in the 3rd round, if I do say so myself. Jumping to the 4th round, pick 113, either going with Danny Isidora, offensive guard from Miami. Mr. I run a fast 40 time at offense. I mean, everyone from the University of Miami seems to be a burner of some sort. Ran a 5.03.40, put up 26 reps on the bench press. A little bit of a combine warrior here. 6'3", 206 pounds. Got an NFL comparison of Alan Barber of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he is a very serviceable starting guard in the NFL. So I think a guy like Isidora can come in and compete. Like I said, that right guard spot is a little bit suspect as it stands right now. I don't know if the Chargers are planning on making a move a little bit later, but as Donovan Clark, their 7th round pick from last year, currently slated as their starter, I think a guy like Isidora could come in and certainly compete for that right guard spot. And the fact that you can get a guy and have some right guard competition for a 4th round pick, I think that would be tremendous value there for the LA Chargers. He wasn't that bad. Let's be completely honest. He's super athletic, a guy with a high ceiling. Once you can give him some time and have him learn the mechanics, fine-tune the mechanics, the athletic side is already there. And I think maybe the Chargers could tap that into that potential of Danny Isidora. Jumping to the 5th round pick, 151, highly controversial. I mean, kind of has shades of Robert Kimdichie from a year ago. Not so much the off-field, but just, how do you really grade a guy like this? I think a team like the Chargers might be able to utilize a player like this on the defensive line. That is, in the 5th round, 151, Charles Walker, defensive tackle from Oklahoma, 6'2", 310 pounds. I think he more so would be depth at the defensive end spot, because obviously they play nose tackle, 3-4 front. But a 4.96 40, 25 reps on the bench press. But the big thing with him, concussions, and then he walked away. Basically, he forego his final year at Oklahoma, and he says, I'm just getting ready for the NFL draft. That's pretty much it. And that raised a lot of red flags to a lot of teams out there trying to understand what's going on. I mean, there are the concussions there, and I totally understand if you have a bunch of concussions, doing what's best for your career. Hopefully you can, I don't know how you don't really recover from concussions, but the less wear and tear he has in college could perhaps increase the longevity of his pro career. So I won't hold too much against him, but he will fall in the draft because of that. But he had a very solid combine. He's nice and lengthy, almost 34-inch arms, and I think he could be a phenomenal depth on the defensive end behind Bosa or Liuget, either or. But I think more so, because right now their defensive end depth is not phenomenal. They have Caleb Ulis and Darius Philon. I think Charles Walker in the 5th round would be top depth, and again, more of a value pick than anything here for the Chargers, which is what you do, best player available. So then jumping to the 6th round, I have them staying on the defensive side of the ball at pick 190. I have them going after Avery Moss, outside linebacker from Youngstown State. Let's go, El Presidor. Shout out to El Pres if he's watching this. 6'3", 34.5-inch arms, 264 pounds, ran a 4.79 40, 14 reps on the bench press for the small school product out of Youngstown, Ohio. Pro comparison is Robert Ayers. That's pretty goddamn good. He's a guy that can get double-digit sacks on any given season. Ascending, I think more so he's a 3-4 rush linebacker. And again, rotational. I don't think you have to worry with a guy like this. Small school can contribute potentially on special teams right away, which is what you need when you get into those 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds. But I think more so a rotational edge rusher. Because right now you got a Toshu, who's probably the top depth coming up. But then outside of that, I think there's open for Kyle Emanuel. I don't know if he has solidified his start as a starter there for the LA Chargers. So I think the more continuous edge rush depth that you continue to add for Gus Bradley to work there, the better. Because you remember, Gus Bradley's there now. He's a phenomenal defensive coordinator. So I'm expecting big things from this Chargers defense next season. So that's why Avery Moss would present tremendous value for the Chargers here in the 6th round. And then finishing with the 7th round pick, 225. Excellent value, I think. I'd be surprised. It was just more so how my mock draft played out that he was still here. But running back, best player available, D'Angelo Henderson from Coastal Carolina, 5'7", 208 pounds, ran a 4.48 40, put up 20 reps on the bench press. NFL comparison is Brandon Oliver, but I remember during the combine, Daniel Jeremiah said he looks a little bit like a Maurice Jones-Drew. He's absolutely solid, fucking tank. Even though he's 208 pounds, this guy is built. I'm not going to say he's built like Samaje Perine, but he looks more like a Samaje Perine type than a Brandon Oliver. Really low to the ground, low center of gravity. And I think he certainly has the potential to eat into some snaps. Running back's not a major need there, especially you have Brandon Oliver, Kenyon Barner, Andre Williams, guys like that. But, I mean, Chargers are a team that consistently want to have running backs out the ass there in that room. And I think, immediately, looking at D'Angelo Henderson, he could be an upgrade over Brandon Oliver. Less miles there. Better upgrade than Kenneth Farrell. I know Kenyon Barner. I think a guy like D'Angelo Henderson presents more value and will be significantly cheaper than paying him, what he had to sign for a free agent. So I think a guy like here, best player available, what guy can make your roster in the 7th round? That's what you want. You want competition, not so much as, we need to stock up here at this position. No, get the best player available, a guy that can come in and eventually could be the complement running back to Melvin Gordon there in the Chargers. So we will see what happens there, but that will be my final 7th round pick, and that is the 7th-round mock draft for the Los Angeles Chargers. Let me know what you guys think about the mock draft in the comment section below. If this is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. 100, we'll go, I don't know, I'll go for 150 likes, and then tomorrow we will see the Carolina Panthers mock draft, all 7 rounds of it. Hope you guys stay tuned for that. And until next time, it's C4 saying thank you for watching the best mock drafts on YouTube. And until next time, peace out.